Yeah. Thank you very much for having me here. And this upload emojis for you, as well as for the organizers, for all the sponsors, and I also believe for all the three amazing speakers that we had tonight. Really huge round of applause for all of them. I mean, all the three talks were great. And now let's talk about the boring part, because you know, it's the part that everyone wants to know or get it done, but nobody had time for it. So hopefully by the end of this talk, you get something at home with you and prepare for the next release. So I'll be talking about animations in React Native. And the first question is why? I mean, why you should care about animations in the first place, right? I was there too, leaving animations at the end of the feature, you know? It's like, oh yeah, everyone is coming. I'll be doing this feature, awesome, awesome, awesome. And then what about animations? Well, if you have enough time at the end, maybe. Otherwise, you'll figure it out and you'll never do it. And most probably some other are going to hire other developers that are only specialized in animations. Been there, done that. So yeah, this is what usually happens. And why it's like this? And I always had this question in my mind, and I believe there are no complete tools available for developers to get the things done really fast. And I believe that we should have, I don't know, confettis, accordions, carousels, even pre-built animations, something that's going to help you out with a particular issue that you have in your feature or you'd like to achieve, right? So yeah, in other words, you need to your app should be special, because I think this is the first thing that is going to differentiate your app from the competition. Because users, especially on the mobile side, they really expect to have really great user experience. And usually those user experiences translate to animations, unfortunately. My name is Catalin Miron. I'm the creator of Animate React Native. You can follow me on X using Miron Catalin handler, or you can watch my YouTube videos on Catalin Miron Dev. As I mentioned, I'm the creator of this platform. It's the platform where I'm sharing more than 120 different animations, powered by React Native Reanimated, Moti, React Native Gesture Handler, Animated API. I know the struggle. And math, for example, and lots of solutions to problems that I've encountered during my dev time. And by the way, I'm doing React Native for over a decade now, so I had access to it since it was in private mode. And I know the struggle and all the ups and downs of it. So I think we're in a really good spot right now with animations, from my perspective. This website has also an iOS and Android app. iOS, unfortunately, I'm still struggling with the reviewers to approve my app. I don't know why, but on Google Play Store, it's already up and there. So how it's actually working, it's, of course, you can play around with all the animations available on animatereactnative.com. But in addition to that, if you go on the website, there is a QR code scanner that's going to do the deep linking. Really happy about this feature. I have inspired quite a lot of developers, as far as I could see, from this community that are also doing animations to not steal, but to be inspired. Really, really awesome thing. This talk is going to be about React Native Reanimated. And if you're not aware of this library, it's by far the best React Native animation library and the most well-maintained library in this ecosystem. And I think 2 weeks ago, Software Mention actually released the stable version of React Native Reanimated v4, which I'll be focusing on in this talk as well. So yeah, this React Native Reanimated v4 comes with 4 different tools, I would say. The first one is the layout animations that was also previously available from v2, v3, and v1, shaky. Worklets or shared values, CSS animations, and CSS transitions. So those two, the latter ones, are actually the new additions. And we're going to go through each individual one in the order in the order that I think matters as a newcomer, but also for an advanced animator in React Native, if that's a job title. So first of all, let's talk about layout animations. And I think it's by far the easiest way to animate anything in React Native in just a couple of lines of code. I will show you immediately. And if you're doing any features, at the end of that feature, you have 3 minutes to add an animation. It's just a simple talk or discussion with the designer, you know, and let's do that, fade in, and that's it. And you are going to just do it in 2 lines of code. It's crazy. And it's also performant. So layout animation actually has 2 different branches. One of them is entering and exiting, which stands for mounting and unmounting, or adding or removing the element from the React hierarchy. And the second one is the layout transitions, when the layout of a particular element or view is going to update. Through layout, I mean size and position. So width, height, XY coordinates. Let's take a look at entering and exiting. Reanimated comes with 78 pre-built animations. These include fade in, fade out, bounce, zoom, you name it. And it's pretty much a plug and play. You just, let me actually show you. So you first need to import animated from React Native Reanimated. You then need to convert your view, text, or component to be an animated view from Reanimated. Just bear in mind, because there are going to be crashes if you're just importing animated from React Native. And then you have access to 2 different props. One stands for entering, which is mounting, and exiting, which is for unmounting of that component. By the way, can you hear me well? I don't want to scream. Oh. Anyway, so let me give you a quick example of how those pre-built animation works. So in this example, I have a fade in for entering and a fade out for exiting. The mounted is just a state, you know. I'm just toggling the state just for you to understand. You may have a different example as a real life example. But you can also do zoom in, zoom out. It's going to look the same, right? You have a slide in left, it's slide out right. So I think the third one, you don't want to know how hard it is to actually do it without those layout animations. It's crazy. You need to keep track of a lot of variables, you know. Is this actually unmounted? Is this mounted? Is this going to be remounted really fast? It's crazy. And then, of course, you can go crazy. So yeah, those were entering and exiting, which I believe just 2 lines of code, everything is going to be at least animated in a way or another. And the last one, it's the layout transitions from layout animations. Reanimated comes with, gives you 6 pre-built transitions, but I believe linear transition is going to be what you're most probably going to use on a daily basis. Hopefully. Anyway, so it's the same thing as entering and exiting, but now we need to actually import linear transition from React Native Reanimated and pass it to the layout as linear transition. By the way, those animations or those modifiers, you can compose them and add other modifiers on top of that. So you can specify with Springify, for example, or damping, or if it's a timing function, you can specify duration. So you can chain as many modifiers to this linear transition or entering animations to any extent, pretty much. So this is what I've built with layout animation. So in this example, the only thing that I had to do is for each individual day, I had to wrap it to be a layout, to have a layout animation. So first it's an animated view with a layout animation. And as you can see, each individual day block has the hour block. So you can append or remove n amount of, not 10, 24 actually, slots, right, for each individual day. So when you append, first of all, when you open it up, it should extend with an animation. So this is actually, since each individual day block has a layout animation, if you change the XY position, it's going to automatically do run the timing function over it. So that's one problem to solve. And inside it, I'm using entering and exiting to animate the mounting and unmounting of the day at the hour blocks. And then itself, the view that contains that list of hour blocks has a layout animation. So just 2 layout animations and 1 entering and exiting to achieve this animation. It's crazy. It's more the UI, it's crazy to do because you need to keep track of the scroll and yeah. Another one is the same. It's using layout animation. I'm pre-calculating the future. It's basically shared element transition where I know the future value and I'm running it in reverse. It's just layout animation. Here, I'm also using entering and exiting, but the most important part is the back and the continue button are actually know each other, and whenever any of them appear, they shrink with the layout animation as well. And again, here with flat list, it's just a chat application, nothing fancy, it's just animating things. And yeah, last but not least, layout animation, a far button. The layout animation is used to animate the closed size and the open size, and whatever it's inside, it's animated via entering and exiting. So again, 3 lines of code, even 4. The layout, the UI, it's actually the hardest part, but anyway. The shared values, this is interesting. So pretty much shared values are the values that are synchronized between the JS and the UI thread, and without the need of re-render. This is really important, and yeah, this is I think this is where the actual value of reanimated comes, from my opinion, because I hated V1 from deep into no, you don't want to know, but when V2 came, actually it was amazing. I think I actually wanted to do exactly the same thing, share the values with animated API. I think I did something. I was calling them interconnected animations. Yeah. Anyway, so let's talk about some primitives that that you can play with in this shared values environment. So the first one is the view shared value. It's basically what drives an animation, and it's a value that's shared between the JS and the UI thread, and hence the name shared. Then we have a derived value that's basically you're going to be able to create another shared value out of existing shared values, and reanimated is going to make the sync and keeping them basically reactive and in sync. The last one is use animated style. It's just a hook that's going to return a reactive styling object. And use animated props is the counterpart of animated styles, but for non-style attributes. And yeah, the hook use animated scroll handler just for you to be able to listen to on-scroll events on any type of list. Last but not least, I think still interpolate is the king, and if you really nail interpolate, you are going to do any type of animation. It's going to remap the value based on an input range to an output range. So in this way, you can do really performant animations because you can only rely on a single value, and you can interpolate that value and create any other shared values, which is crazy. I highly recommend my talk from AppJS 2022, where I really go deep into interpolate. So in a nutshell, a shared value is just a number, right? But the fun thing about it is that you can apply a timing function. So you can animate the transitions between the old state and the future state. So let's talk about timing functions. So this, wait a second, because the notes are too big, even though I'm not. So a timing function will give life to this shared value. So you can animate from the current state to the future state really easily. And there are a couple of timing functions. The first one is with timing. You can basically animate based on a duration and an easing. With spring, which is a physics-based animation timing function. With decay, which is going to mimic the objects in motion. Like for example, you have an on scroll. If you let go of the scroll, you see that the movement is still there, right? So the motion is still there. It's not going to suddenly stop. So that's basically a decay. And also you can apply a different friction. And there are other things like tweet sequence, tweet repeat, delay. Those are just if you'd like to mess around with shared values. So yeah, this is, for example, this is one example that I have created using shared values. I'm using a bunch of things. I can see that this is quite advanced, but in a nutshell, I'm using gesture handler just to move around the boxes, and I'm listening to the event when the box is going to arrive back into place and trigger something on the JavaScript side via run on JS, which is another hook that's going to bypass from JavaScript, from UI side to the JavaScript side. And you also have run on UI from JavaScript to UI thread. So it's like you have two different methods to call. And then I'm using confetti library. I can't remember the creator, but yeah, thank you very much for it. Yeah, I'm creating this parallax effect again with gestures. Those are like quite complicated because shared values are meant to be used for hardcore examples, I would say. It's like if you really want to go really deep into nailing an experience, you definitely need to understand shared values, interpolate, and how gestures actually work. Yeah, this is one example of that. This is a simple one, actually. It's a flat list. I'm listening to the active slide, and I'm modifying the background under the hood. This one is using use animated sensor that comes with reanimated, and I'm actually listening to the tilt and pan to animate the active slide from the carousel. And last but not least, here I'm trying to recreate the telegram animation. This is using a mix of layout animations, measure, a lot of things. It's like, I think it's 60 lines of code just to measure everything, because I'm remapping, because it's also dynamic. It's like whatever I'm doing, I'm not just hard coding things. You can actually specify how many chat heads do you like to display at the top, and they don't have to be in the same order in the list. So it's like I'm thinking about more than just doing the animation. So yeah, it's a nice thing to, yeah, it's a challenge. Now let's talk about CSS animations, and how to say about CSS animations. So I believe CSS animations is just a fire and forget type of animation. So it's something that doesn't require user input. And by user input, I mean any type of interaction that the user can do inside the app. So this is not a CSS animation. A CSS animation is something that you just render and forget about it. It's going to happen one time, two times, infinitely. It doesn't matter, but you don't have any input on that, and you are not going to change it over time. So if you're familiar, for example, with Moti, I will say, no, not Moti, but Moti has also support for sort of this type of animation, but it's just a fire and forget. This is what you need to understand about it. It's really useful for loaders, pulsing effects, and those small UI animations, I would say. So CSS animations has two mandatory props. The first one is the animation name, which is basically an object as a keyframe object. If you're familiar with CSS keyframes, you can either specify like percentages as keys and entry points inside the object, or you can specify the from and the to, which stands from 0 and 100%. And then the animation duration. Keep in mind that the default animation duration is 0. So if you're not going to change that, the animation is not going to run. So just be mindful about it, which is going to basically say the duration of the animation. It's kind of mixed. The name is there anyway. But there are other properties that you can use inside the CSS animation. The first one is the delay. If you want to delay the start of the animation, you can specify a different timing function, is in cubic Bezier, it doesn't matter. Everything is going to work, and the animation duration, if it's forward and backward. How many times to... is anyone familiar with CSS animations in general here? It's okay, then you know. And yeah. Yes, yeah. Even steps works, just I'm just saying. So this is how we are going to use it. First, of course, import animated from React Native reanimated, and then you render a view in our example, right? And as you can see, is like I have the styles box and whatever, and then I'm extending the styles, and I'm sending an inline object. In our example, we have an animation name called March. And let's take a look at the March example here. So I have a keyframe 0, 25, 50, 75, 100%, so four different steps. Each individual step is going to modify the translate text and the rotation, plus the background color. Keep in mind the background color. So it's like, this is chef kiss. It's like, pretty hard to do in the past. So, and now we have the march animation. But again, we need to specify also the duration, because otherwise it's going to be 0, no animation. So 2.5 seconds. The timing function is in out, and I would like to animate it infinitely, but alternate. So this means that I would like to go from 0 to 100 and then come back with the same animation, but in reverse, right? So this is going to create, this is the code for a marching, and this is how it's going to look like, right? So you have, crazy. Yeah, I actually have a tutorial on CSS Tats Plus about exactly this type of animation. It's crazy. It's one-on-one almost. Now let's talk about CSS transitions. So this is going to enable you to style the animations between 2 or more states. This is ideal, for example, for animations that are triggered by a state change or user interaction. So those are state-driven animations, like multi and framework motion. CSS transitions, again, 2 different properties. We have the transition properties that's going to be either a string, all, none, or you name the style attribute that you'd like to animate, or you can have multiple style attributes that you like to animate via an array. And transform, just be mindful that if you're going to say all, take a look at the performance, because it's going to impact it quite hard, right? So be more specific about what properties you'd like to animate. And then another quick tip here, that transforms and opacities are really cheap. They don't require any layout calculations, and that's one of the main reasons why animated API can run on the native driver, the transforms and opacities. The last is the same, the transition duration, default by 0, and is going to determine how much is going to take for to do the transition. And then you also have the delay, how much to wait before the starting the start of the animation, and then we have the timing function. So let's take a look at this example. Import animated. We have the animated style, and here, based on the state, I'm actually changing inline the styles of the width and the background color. So if it's toggle, go somewhere. Otherwise, do something else. So I'm doing the same for the width and the background color. And now, if you're familiar, for example, with Moti on React Native, it's basically the same, but you have different properties that you need to send. It's a from, it's an initial. Yeah, this is just inline styling. And yeah, this is the example, right? Nothing fancy, nothing should animate, hopefully. Anyway, so now let's actually do some CSS transitions. So I'll just add a transition property, the width and the background color. Note that if I'll do only the width is going to be animated. Background color, even though I'm changing it via state change, is not going to be animated. So there is no transition between the states. And I'm applying 300 milliseconds with an ease in out. And this is how it's going to look like. Again, this is running on UI thread, so you don't have to care about any drop frames and anything. Quite performant. Yeah, it's crazy. So if you're making something, let's say, this is my tip for anyone, and whoever I was talking about animations, not only animations, but things in general as a dev, just start with some constraints. Just do something only using a particular set of narrowed tools, because in such a way that you're going to learn more about how to do those things, even though you don't know how to do them. It's like, just use, for example, transforms and opacities. So if I have to take a look at myself 10 years ago when I was doing animated API animations, that was my constraint. And not only because it was not performant, but this is how animation used to work. But yeah, just start small, And by the way, everything that I've shared in those slides are available on the Reanimated 4 cheat sheet, with which Software Machine just released. So if you'd like to give it a try and go to the entire document, just scan the QR code. Really good documentation there. And I think it's coming soon in 4.2, which is the this is going to be like feature complete, in my opinion, if we are going to have shared element transition. which were not that possible beforehand, even though it was in beta, or yeah, don't use it. Anyway, so let's talk about some libraries that I made to help you out with some animations. I only have 6 minutes. Ooh, we are doing fine on time. I didn't know about that. What? I should slow down a bit. Whew. Anyway, no. So let's talk about marquee component. The marquee component is this, the marquee from HTML is like something that's repeating over and over again. And yeah, this is how it's going to look like. I'm really proud of those animations. I made them. It's crazy. So it's something that's going to repeat over and over again, creating this sort of like a loop animation. And this is used on Framework, for example, for creating the sticker. It's used as a random new sticker. Crazy. And of course, by Apple stock app, right? Where if you're going to favorite any stock that you like to follow, for example, you have this at the top. If you are going to scroll a bit the bottom sheet. So yeah, it's pretty used all over the place. So how does this work, actually? This is going to be tough. So, whew. Okay, so you have a viewport, right? And an element inside it. And you'd like to figure it out in such a way that you'd like to clone it multiple times. When you move the element out of the viewport, you don't want to have, you want to move it back from the head to the tail and then play it again. As you can see in this animation, there is a small glitch because I haven't cloned this element the amount of time that was needed, right? So I had to do it not 2 times, but 3 times in order to avoid any gaps between those cloned elements. So is this working? Yeah, so now with 3 elements, right? So we go, we exit the first element, we put it on the tail. Keep in mind, this is the same element, so it's not a different element. So it's the 3, I had to clone the element 3 times, right? So now there is no glitch because if the head was moved outside the viewport, we still have something in the tail to present. So now we move to the tail again. It's crazy. Yeah. So in case the element is just bigger than the viewport, we just clone it once just to ensure that everything works. Of course, another feature of this marquee component is that you can specify the spacing between the clone elements, and yeah, everything is going to be applied to the cloned elements. This is again available on npm for a while now. You can install it, or you can check the source code on GitHub. It's powered by Reanimated, it's cross-platform, 60 to 120 FPS. Works with any component that is written in TypeScript. This is how it's going to look like. The showcase is quite outdated because I have added another feature, which I'll go in a minute. So let's start using it. Import marquee from marquee. Classic. And then render it. So you can specify the spacing, right, between each individual clone, and then you can specify the speed. I didn't want it to add the frame rate, but from time to time, you have a device with a different frame rate, so you can pre-calculate that and send it back. So in such a way that the speed 4 actually makes sense, because otherwise, if the frame rate is too high, 4 might mean 8. And then you can specify if reverse true or false, means if it's going to move from left to right or right to left. And then there is the direction, which can be vertical or horizontal. And this is funny because marquee is going to figure it out if it's vertical to flip between X and Y. So if you have the same component that's initially a horizontal marquee, if you flip it on the fly via state change to make it vertical, it's going to switch the entire animation and keep the same position within the list right away. So I'm really proud of that feature anyway. But so and this is with gesture, which can be true or false. I believe true is by default. And by gesture, I mean I've created this one. I think I did the live stream session while I was creating this. So I'm using 3 different marquee elements here. 2 are moving to the left and 1 to the right. But you can always change the via gestures, basically scrolling. But the nice thing about it is that, as you can see, it's using width decay to keep the momentum, right? So it's not just slowly reaching a point and then move the animation. If the animation it's less this is crazy. I'll go into some technical details. So if the animation is less than the actual speed, I'm going to keep the speed and not the animation itself, because it doesn't make sense, right? So if you're moving, let's say you're moving from left to right, if you're moving again from left to right with a gesture, if the velocity of that is going to be less than the actual speed of the marquee, I'll take over with the speed. So those small things, but those are really noticeable, because you have to pause the marquee and then restart the animation. It's crazy. Anyway. So and then you also have access to position, which is a shared value. I think I think Legend State relies on this approach as well. I did it a couple of times in the past as well. If you need some Boolean or some sort of value and you don't want to have re-renders, you can store them into shared values or animated values just to keep track of something. This is what I'm doing here. I'm just passing the position as a shared value, and I'm just communicating between components without any set states, callbacks, or anything via this shared value. Crazy. And how am I using it? Well, I'm just creating this Apple Music. I can't remember the name, to be fair with you. I did it a while ago. But I'm getting the position of the marquee to determine which is the active item on the screen. And so I can modify the background color. I'm actually doing more than that, because as you cannot see that properly, but there is a slight rotation of the elements, and the one that's actually in the middle, it's straight. So this is also looping infinitely. So it doesn't matter how fast you are going to scroll in any direction, it's going to seamlessly repeat, which is, you are going to get it for free. I got it for free when I did it. And use frame callback is the hook that's actually the one that's driven this entire marquee animation, which is a callback that's called every frame a second. So yeah, 60 times, 120, you name it. The next component is the accordion. I'll go rep 20. Animate. So it's powered by Reanimated cross-platform 120 FPS. Works with any React Native component. And if you saw the talk from React Native Universe by Fernando Rojo, you saw the composition. It's all you need. So it loves composition. And this is how it's going to look like. You have an accordion, and everything is going to be also animated using layout animations. And how it's going to work? Well, you need to first import the accordion. The naming is quite bad, but anyway. So you have a provider here, and inside this provider you have a couple of different components. One is the header, so you can render whatever inside it, but another thing is that you have a header icon, and this is going to automatically be animated if the accordion is opened or not, and is going to rotate whatever you are going to pass as children. Then you have the accordion collapse, which is going to be visible only if it's not expanded. Then you have accordion always, which is going to always be available for you no matter what's the state of the accordion. And last but not least, the accordion.expanded, which is basically the content that you'd like to show when you actually open up the accordion. This is crazy, because you can nest as many accordions as you'd like inside this accordion expanded. So you can do, like I will give you an example, like with replies, you know, on like any platform, you can go really, really deep, like on Hacker News, for example. You can reply as much as you'd like, so you can replicate that effect with this accordion really easy. So yeah, this is the entire code of this accordion. This is how it's going to look like. And again, you can nest as many as you'd like. This was built in public, actually. I live streamed the initial version of it. You can check it out on YouTube. And then I failed in public, of course. I don't care that much, but I was struggling with some two-factor authentication and NPM, you don't wanna know. But I actually released this live on stream. It was crazy. I think Gorhom from Bottom Sheet actually helped me out, but anyway. And here is a real example of the accordion. I also did a live stream session where I was building a local first studio application using Expo, Drizzle, and accordion and the Stagger orchestrator, which I don't have time to do, but anyway. So yeah, you can check the real life example or the source code of that application that I was building using this link. It's open source, and this is how it's going to look like. Available on the Google Play Store, too lazy to publish it to the App Store. It's available via test flight. It's too much pain to create the screenshots. It's crazy. Yeah, this is how it is. Now, this is the last one, I promise you. Is the stagger component. You know, instead of animating a group of items all at once, you can create the same effect by staggering the animations, which is basically the delay for each individual animation. When each individual item's animation is incrementally delayed, they are going to appear as individual, but they are actually collectively as a group. You know, it's like this is a stagger pretty much. You just manually delay each individual element because they are top to left or right, bottom to top, and just applying a small delay, there will be the feeling is more natural. Anyway, this is stagger, like running through boards. You know, it's like they're not going to all at once move up. It's like it's crazy, right? They have like a stagger. It's crazy. Anyway, so this is stagger. It's again open source. You can check the source code. You can install it. It's powered by Reanimated. It's cross-platform. Web asterisk requires at least 3.4 as React Native Reanimated. This is the version when React Native Reanimated actually had support for layout animations on web. So this component heavily relies on layout animations. And again, works with any component, is the same thing. I want to show you how it is. Yeah, so this is how it's going to look like. It's a stagger orchestrator. There is no manual work. I'm just wrapping the entire view that contains all the boxes, whatever text elements, the image, into this stagger, and everything is going to work. And let's give it a try. This is an example. So we have the stagger from Animate React Native stagger. Render it if it's enabled or not. This one is a feature that a lot of developers have requested over issues. The stagger, which is the delay between each individual animation, the duration for each individual animation, entering direction and enter direction and exit direction, which is one, it's from top to bottom, and -1 from bottom to top. This is really really good to have because on the menu you'd like to first appear from top to bottom, and when you dismiss the menu you'd like to go vice versa, so from bottom to top. This is the natural way. I think Matt Perry from Framer Motion actually has a talk talking about exactly this problem that a lot of us get it wrong. But anyway, oh no, the power. Anyway, so initial entering delay makes sense, and then you have a callback. This is quite useful because you'd like to stagger something, and then at the end, or you like to maybe set state or navigate or do something else, API calls, you name it. And you can also alter the entering and exiting via a method. Bear in mind, it's a method because I need to get access to the compose animator. But anyway, so and now whatever it's inside is going to be wrapped into an animated view, pass all the configuration, and it's going to animate. Easy. This is how it's going to look like. Pretty fun project. By the way, everything that I've showed here and more, hopefully to come, are available on GitHub. You can follow the link. It's github.com, animate-react-native. I actually have a client that took animate React Native, and I'm just struggling now to get that. Anyway, crazy story. So yeah, don't forget to check animate React Native. You have the things here. If you really wanna see all the examples that I showcased during this, they are available on those both platforms basically, so you can play around with them just to see if the app is crashing or not. And yeah, thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you very much. We actually have eight questions, so I'm not sure if we can go through all of them.
Can you combine multiple layout animations? What do you mean, like multiple layout animations or layout transitions? Because those are two different things.
Layout transitions with animations like zoom in and
no. No, but you can create your own custom animation using custom builder. What you can do instead, use maybe keyframes, because you also have a modifier called keyframe, which works exactly like CSS keyframes, but it's a layout animation. So you can definitely define whatever and however you'd like. You can actually create your own. I'm not sure if but definitely it's available in the documentation. You can create, you have access to all the properties or all the necessary properties to create your own custom layout animation. Can you set trigger states, or does it have to be tied to mounting phase? If you're talking about CSS transitions, you definitely need to trigger a state to re-render the, to re-trigger that style change. If you're talking about entering and exiting, yes, they are actually really tied to the entering and exiting for mounting and unmounting. So you either can specify a key, which I heard not a lot of developers know, that you can actually destroy the entire tree via a different key. Crazy. And from time to time, it's actually more performant than you pass props. But yeah, you can unmount via a different key. So you can have a state, I don't know, 1, increment that state and pass the key as element dash the index. So it's always going to mount and unmount, just to test. I'm not sure if that actually triggers a correct answer, but how does Reanimated work with React Native Web nowadays? I think it's doing fine. Yeah, with V4, definitely it's working. With V3, you need to have the configuration files. It's like you're not going to like move that. It's like if you're using Expo, which I highly recommend, is going to work out of the box. So you don't have to do any Webpack stuff. If you, yeah, everything is going to work. So there is also in the documentation how to actually run React Native Reanimated using Next, for example, which I'm also using on animatereactnative.com for as a playground, not officially production ready in my case. Is use effect? No. Actually, there was a talk, and when I saw that talk, I was like, use effect with set state and animate. No. You're doing it wrong. Use effect with animations. No, don't do it. There is another hook by React Native Reanimated for triggering from the animation to the JS side. It's called use animated reaction. If you wanna do it from the animation to the like state tree, but if you'd like to do something from a prop, for example, just initialize that shared value from that prop, or move it outside of the entire React scope, because it's it can live outside of React. You can make mutable from a constant, and that's basically shared value. No, don't use effect. No, I don't recommend it. You can just initialize it outside. It's easier. Does the marquee element also clones event listener linked on those elements? That's a good one. Yes, of course, but not in order. It's like it's going to be the same event. Yeah, it is going to just clone. It's basically React clone element. If that answered the question, so I think, yeah, it's going to point to the same method. Can you set order to the stagger animation element? Of course, yes. You can specify it from top to bottom or from bottom to top. There is no left to right, because left to right it's top to bottom, and right to left it's bottom to top, pretty much, because it's taking from head to. It's actually better to head to tail and tail to head, pretty much. How much overhead does the library? Oh yeah, no. On the marquee component, are all the props shared values animated props? No, not really. No, just a boolean, because I need to re-trigger trigger a re-render. So yeah, nothing. It's a shared value. No. How much overhead does the library have if used on web? Yeah, actually, if you go on the marquee, I'm using Expo to create the example and post it via. Tell me, help me. Expo hosting. Yeah, I'm using Expo Snack, but no, this one is actually from the repository directly to via ES hosting. So I'm building and hosting directly, and Expo is generating a link for me. Is that correct? Got you. Nice. Yeah, so definitely, yeah, I'm using, but only with Expo. I couldn't done it properly on my own, hacking Webpack and things like that. But Expo seems to work. It's like if you're using Expo, you definitely can export it for web. But the library itself definitely works. I can tell you 100% sure. You can actually go ahead on the GitHub repository and press the link. There is the marquee there. And guess what? It's actually working with gestures. Anyway, so how would you implement ongoing animation triggered by holding on press? It's gesture handler. You have gesture long press, where you can actually pass any type of config that you'd like. Is really really highly customizable, and based on that, you have 4 different events: on start, on end, on active, and on too many people. But yeah, it's a long press from gesture handler. There is no other way around. I don't recommend the pressing on long press if you'd like to animate something.
Okay, I think that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
It was a lot of questions.